Everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, January 28th, Pandion's expert speaker session. Today we have Andy Factor. Uh, this is the executive director from Pandion, and I'm so pleased to have Andy join us today and provide us with his wisdom and skills within the music industry space. I had the opportunity of working with Andy years ago at Virgin Records, and since then, he has gone on to do many, many things. And currently, I think it is you have this label now, correct?
Yes.
Ever Loving. So he has a record company now, and Andy, if you could speak about, give a top line about where you've come from, and then move into what you're presenting today, and go through your presentation, and I'll just be checking in with the community to see if you have any questions, or just raise your hand, and I'll pose those questions to Andy. So, without further ado, thank you so much, Andy. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm not looking, so I don't know if anyone or everyone is here. And thanks, Co, for having me, and thanks, Pandion, for this. I know, or I'm understanding that Pandion is here to help creators build sustainable music careers, and not just one-off moments. And hopefully, this presentation that I've brought is kind of in that line. I've been working in the music industry for almost 40 years, and constantly working kind of on the edges and the outside of it, but able to build a career for myself and for musicians around me, and a small group of people who have learned how to do this in a more do-it-yourself fashion. Um,
Can you name some of the artists you've worked with so people can get the
well,
scope of your work?
um, So when I first started working at Virgin Records, where I met Co, I became an A&R scout and an A&R director. And I'll talk real briefly right now about two acts. One, my first act that I ever signed, it was a big budget and a famed producer and a big promotional push. And they were a band called The Origin. They got dropped very quickly and broke up. The next artist was a guy named Ben Harper, who had a low budget album, and the record was produced in our office demo studios by his manager, who's now my business partner, and I'll talk more about him later. But he was able to develop a long term career that continues on to this day, not despite low budgets, but because of them. And that's kind of where I first became inspired to sort of understand what it really takes to get these things off the ground versus what a lot of what I saw wasted time, resources, money, and more about stroking egos than getting to work, I would say. Ben Harper, and I know Summer's in the room. Summer worked closely with Ben for all those years as well. So if we have any questions, we might want to ask her as well. But he started out as somebody who was great live. And so their strategy and success with touring led them towards self sustainability. And from there, they were able to chase their dream freely. They weren't under the constraints of big budgets or expectations. Um, Beyond that, I started working with all kinds of artists that did not use big budgets or big producers or big campaigns. Heat Miser, which Elliott Smith, that was his first band. We worked with him, and he made 4-track recordings, and they made self-produced recordings. I signed an artist named Brendan Benson, who we basically bought home recording equipment for so that he could capture the spirit of his demos without being sort of burdened by the stress of going into a studio and having to perform on demand. Uh, Over the years, I've worked with a lot of artists, some most nobody would ever hear or know about, but they earn livings. And even Ben Harper, who without a hit um, toured outside the US, he made money, he earned fans and praise. He got to play in New Zealand, he got to play in England before he ever succeeded in America, where he played in front of people like a young Zane Lowe and a young Harry Styles, who 20 years later came back to put him on stage and to explain how they were inspired by these artists. So anyway, to get back on track, today's session is about a full cycle release strategy, and it's pretty administrative and pragmatic. It's not about trying to get a hit. It's not about trying to have a drop or a moment. It's about trying to put something out into the world, uh, make sure it's rooted and it's growing from the time you first share it forever, and then to add to it. And that's how we've succeeded. That's how my artists have survived. And so that's what I'm trying to share with you. It's pretty easy. There's a lot to do. You can't make people like your music, but you can set it up and know that all the opportunities are available to you. So I'm going to jump into this now. I'm going to set my timer because I can talk forever on each page, but let's get into this. Um, this is how we set up our albums. Clearly, there's a million ways to approach music marketing, and the best practices change every season, but certain things remain constant. Uh, Pretty much every one of our projects starts from one of our garages, literally. Number two, you only publish your music once, so cover all your bases. You can't get the toothpaste back into the tube. And you miss all the shots you don't take. So we like to have everything in place so that we can at least have a ball and take a shot once in a while. Um, you'll excuse some of this that I'm reading versus riffing on, but we'll start here. The street date is not a beginning, a drop, or an end. It's the axis of a cycle. This is my thesis, and hopefully I will prove this to you all. Just recently, I think it was last week in the New Yorker, they were talking about ASAP Rocky's recent release, Don't Be Dumb, first record in 8 years, and how, I'm going to read the quote here, the ephemeral nature of contemporary music consumption has made it much harder to elevate an album, even a very good one, into the category of an event. And so they get into why is it more complicated now to promote an album? Now, of course, competition is beyond comprehension. Uh, there's plenty more going on in the world than just music, and this promise of virality and infinite reach is really nothing more than a trap and a diversion. Now, when we first started Everloving, which was 25 years ago, the internet had just become a thing. We had Napster, iTunes came shortly thereafter with downloads, and it promised kind of a leveled playing field for an indie label that we could go out and speak to the masses, play our videos, play our music to people. And at the time, they promised something that was called a long tail, which meant that in all the pockets and corners of the world, little labels like ours and artists doing, not mainstream music had an opportunity to build careers and find their audience. Um, so we got into this and we waited for this long tail to happen and it didn't really ever seem to come. But um, it is coming and it has come, but it's really hard to see it because it's long and it's slow. And from where we stand, we're looking for more immediate indicators. And we run out of patience, time, or heart most of the time waiting for those to happen. We have songs that spike that are 15 years old and they come up on our dashboards, and we have no idea why. Um, but you never know when one of those spikes is one person like a Zane Lowe, who's a teenager in New Zealand, um, who's heard a Ben Harper record. And later he does something about that. These are all important moments, but if we look at them to result in a viral moment, we're fooling ourselves. And I've done this long enough to see uh, how often it doesn't happen, and yet how many persevere anyway. So um, we go back to this long tail theory. We put out obscure items, and we put out as many as we can, as often as we can, until people start to pay attention. We've done plenty of ads and big spends and big press people and lots of money. We've reached out internationally, but the most effective thing we've probably ever done is put a billboard outside a club down the street called Zebulon, where real music people hung out and saw our sign every night. It wasn't by the thousands, it was by the tens, sometimes by the hundreds. Uh, but they were more relevant, and the engagement was on another level. So when we get into this model, we talk about grassroots, we talk about on the ground, we talk about in real life. Uh, but first, we have to get a record out. And that's just part of our cycle, but it's an important part because it kind of gives us a new turn at everything. Here's my full release cycle. You can see the beautiful graphics, and we have one, two, and three. Those are all pre-launch. Number four is obviously launch, and number five, that's where we build our careers. So, as I say, this is a cycle, and instead of chasing one moment, we're building a process that you can reuse, so that each release strengthens your audience, your revenue, your position in the industry. Um, for creators, it's stable, it's repeatable, and it protects your efforts. It reduces your burnout, lets you plan around life, and makes space for authentic creativity. Um, Let me jump into it. Stage one, strategy and tactics. Uh, I like to pick one primary goal and make sure everybody knows that's our primary goal so that we don't get distracted. Because with artists, when you have a bunch of artists, when you have bands that talk to each other in between the times that we talk to them, it's very easy to get distracted by all the things that you could be doing or all the things somebody else is doing that you might not be. Having one goal is very useful for me. We can set up our tactics around that. Once we achieve that, we can move on to the next. And we can know uh, that we did our jobs so that we're not waiting for an instant result, but we know that we've planted our tree and it's being watered and it's there um, forever. Um, we pick our primary, then we pick our tactics, whether that's press, radio, digital marketing, collaborations, whatever that might be. It could be almost anything. I'll give you an example. We signed on with an act not too long ago from the Democratic Republic of the Congo called Jupiter and Oquest, and their agent got in touch with us because he wanted to bring them to the U.S. Said they were an amazing live band, and they needed good support with music and a label when that happened. And so my primary goal of having a great live artist to work with, that was already solved. So we had to pick a secondary goal that was just as important. And for world music, that was a guy named Bob Boylan, who ran Tiny Desk and World Cafe, and he's probably the most important person in my mind to make this record happen. He needed to be a champion, so we built our campaign around that. And once we had achieved that, we knew that we had done what we had set out to do.
Can
Everything
I
else,
can I interject
sorry.
really quick? Are people familiar with Tiny Desk? Can I get a show of hands, or do people utilize that or watch or know who Andy's referring to? Anybody? Anybody? Um, Someone said yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. Tell us more. Okay, yeah. So Tiny Desk. Just to continue, if I may, Andy. So when he's talking about this artist from who is a world music artist, and in this instance, he said number one, we already know they tour, they can do live. Now we have to think of a number two priority or something else to look at. Is mentioning Tiny Desk. One of the things dependent upon you as an artist, your scope, but NPR, National Public Radio, radio typically nowadays is not a place where people tend to discover music. However, there are certain stations or platforms or programs that you can discover music, and Tiny Desk is one of those places because he comes from the National Public Radio culture. So if you go on YouTube or even Spotify or whatever DSP or wherever you're listening to your music and you search Tiny Desk, you will find a plethora of really interesting acts you probably do know about or ones you may discover. And in this instance, I just wanted to expand upon that. Andy, as you're talking, to ensure that people are understanding the scope. Because so far, what Andy's talking about, we're talking about long tail theory. It isn't typically how most labels are wired. They want the quick in and out, and in the way in which, and there's somebody on this call that I've spoken to, it takes time, who's part of our Pandion community. I'm not going to give your name out, but you've been in the industry for decades playing your music, and you just never know when it's going to hit. It's odd, there's not necessarily a full formula. And so the things that Andy's referring to is important for you if you're aspiring to be a music industry professional or if you are an artist yourself to take on board that you might be a part of that long tail or you might be lucky enough to get a short cycle. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to express that part to what you're saying, Andy.
Oh, thank you for adding that. I'm not necessarily aware of where everybody's coming from and what they're familiar with. And by the way, if you do explore Tiny Desk, they have open auditions for Tiny Desk. Where you perform at your own desk, and it's an acoustic performance and of some sort. Not really acoustic, but it's got to be in front of a desk. I think that's the only rule.
Yep.
And it's now kind of its own American Idol type thing that's very cool. Um, but anyway, in that regard, that's how focused and how singular some of our campaigns can be built. Um, it's not that that's all we do, but until we've accomplished that, that becomes our main North Star, and everything needs to work in conjunction or to build towards that. Um, so anyway, I'm going to move into preparation and assets. This is the boring stuff, but this is where professionalism shows up. This is where a guy like me has had to learn from making almost every mistake there is to make. Um, you know, I started out as an A&R guy. That's kind of a creative job, but it's also an administrative job. You had to deal with numbers and budgets and uh, but as far as spelling and like detail work with artwork and stuff, that was never necessarily my thing. And it's my thing now because I've had to learn how to do it. We like to, well, I've learned from mostly a couple of our current artists. We have this band, The Jack Moves, and another band called Soft Palms. And these guys are as organized as any artists I've ever met, and they know how to use Google Sheets and shared documents and drop boxes and all of that stuff, uh, which you wouldn't think is all that important to making a music career, but these days it's crucial. And so this is the stage where we have to have one source for everything, one source of information, one shared timeline, one primary goal, one asset repository, one decision owner per category. And the reason I say this is I'll show you on the next slide that when one thing shifts, everything shifts. And if you're using a team of any size, even if you just have friends helping you, um, having this information in one place is not only crucial, but it can mean the difference between, you know, being able to step up to an opportunity and not. So we've learned this the hard way. I have CDs with giant misprints on the back. We have records that went out with the wrong barcodes. We've had metadata go out wrong that affected, the overall stream counts. We've had stream counts reset because of transferring from one distributor to another. We've been through every problem you can possibly imagine, and so far, this is the best solution, and that is to have one place for everything. So, on this page, the thing that says source for info and assets in blue that's underlined, if you're seeing that, that's a live link that you'll be able to click through to a multi-tabbed spreadsheet that I'm sharing. It's got resources and timeline templates and ways that we work towards organizing our stuff. Maybe, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you if you're running a record. Um, Obviously, you can delete and change anything that fits your approach, but having it all in one place is really my point. I'm going to move on to three, timeline and coordination. And this is what I was talking about a second ago. It's interesting because when I set this up, I was thinking of a band in particular and a release we have set up. And as I look at it now, none of these dates necessarily count anymore. And if I was making it today, they'd all be different, which is why this is so important. In January, we set up and we planned this release, and we decided what's this release about? Are there going to be shows? If so, when and where? How many singles are we going to put out from this? Are we going to make vinyl, which is another major source of revenue for the bands that I work with? We find that that investment pays off in a lot of ways. It's not appropriate for all music, but for what we do, it's really a core aspect of it. When you make vinyl, that means you have different deadlines and different rules about when and how and where you get these things shipped and stored and made, and your expenses go up, of course. But 300 records, if you sell them direct, can make you $5,000 profit. Just if you're interested. Um, 300 is not that many. It's a lot fewer than 3 million streams. So we keep a realistic timeline across our months, planning and then announcement, building a momentum with our singles, our teasers, activating our fans, which I'll get to more of, and then finally our release. We do a press release. We have announcements. We have a landing page, which I have some resources on that template. Various landing page services like Feature FM, places where they can track people who are following your music and trying to find it. If you do advertising, you can put your Facebook meta pixel onto your landing page, and then you can follow your people around forever, reminding them that they were interested in your music at one point. Once again, in the template, there's some more details about where you can learn about that. Email blasts, when are those going out? Are you going to do advertising, and how are you going to approach this? Um, for this record that I was talking about, we've decided that we're going to service the band's fans in a special way by putting out music to them first. So we'll be releasing a single through Bandcamp, which is a kind of a direct to fan service where we can sell downloads. People can stream it, and they can also pre order this vinyl we're making. After that happens, we'll move it to Spotify and Apple Music. A few weeks later, we'll go back to Bandcamp and drop another single. And the idea is to activate the fans that we already have. And this band has some fans that we need to reactivate. And so we're going to be speaking directly to them and getting them, first look and a first listen to the record. So we build this out. We have our timeline. We share it. There's a million ways to do this, but the most important thing is how do you have enough time to do this? How much time does it take to do this? And if you are like us and you want a band to tour, you want to make vinyl, you want to put out an album, you're talking about at least 6 months um, to get this all prepared and ready to go, if not longer, if you don't have the ability to just make shows happen. And by the way, if any of you do make shows happen, putting them on sale 6 months ahead of time is actually a good thing. And the clubs prefer that. So if you're wondering, can I play a show next month and get people to come? It might take longer than that. Launch execution. This is launch day. It's the day that you find out what you did right and wrong. But it's not the day that anything really happens. It's the most anticlimactic day um, that we have. So what we do at that point is we start focusing in on our fans and our super fans. These could be your parents or your friends or the 7 people that follow you around from show to show. But what we realize is that they're everything. They're our street team. They're the people that are watching us on social. They're the people that are sharing this, and we need to speak to them. We cannot speak to strangers. We can't be prospecting for new audience. We need to be engaging with the audience that we have. They will do that work for us. If we're constantly doing a dog and pony for strangers, we're just going to be feeling rejection most of the time. But if we engage and share with our super fans, uh, then we will learn what it is that we, need to do every day online, sharing the highlights of getting your song onto a playlist, sharing the highlights of uh, how you wrote a song, or the scratch paper that you wrote your lyrics on, or any of these very personal and authentic things. My artists do not like to perform on social. They like to play music and they like to perform on stage. But when you ask them to post, they feel very awkward. But that's because they feel like they're talking to strangers. If they felt like they were talking to the people who stay after and want to talk to them after a show, it would be a lot more natural. They would recognize that, even to me, I'm talking to some friends here right now, and I have to keep that in mind because they don't want to hear me bullshit. Excuse my language. Um, but they want to find out something they don't already know. So I'm not just going to keep selling the same thing to these people. That's already a given. They're already following you. Uh, Now they want to know what's real. So that's what gets us into post release growth.
Hey, hold on
Um,
one sec. Before he
mhm.
goes into stage five, does anybody have any comments or questions on what Andy has gone over? Is there anything that you want to know more about that he's touched upon? Please don't be shy. I mean, I think I came from grassroots marketing. I came from being a super fan. So super fans are core to your strategy. Let it be one, two, three, four, 5, 10, 20 people. They are the ones that activate and will be out there just gagging for it. They're just really excited about what you're up to. So I really appreciate you touching upon that, Andy, and also the fact that when you're booking a show, try and do it months ahead of time to let it breathe and let it get into the market and people learn about you and actually buy your ticket instead of trying to force a quick, like, we're going to go on the road right now. We're going to turnkey it unless you're going to busk or play somebody's backyard. Um, so does anybody have anything? Just give it a minute. Okay. Please carry forth with stage five. Thank you, Andy.
So, as you probably have figured out throughout this, none of this includes like a big song or a big hit or a big anything. This is all just what we do every day. And so, we talk to the friends who want to talk to us, and we realize that uh, any moment something could happen, but any moment nothing could happen. And the real question is, how does that affect you and your mission in making music? Does that stop you? Does that bother you? I go back to the first thing I said about the band with the big budget who got dropped and broke up versus Ben Harper, who's 35 years into it and still finding new fans. Uh, what is your determination? What is going uh, to stop you in your tracks? Can you afford to do this? So it becomes an issue of survival, and it becomes an issue of humility more than anything. So we get into post-release growth, and now it's like, we did all of our work, and we put out our singles, and we made these videos, and we put this up, and now it's out, and now what? Um, and that's a moment that I have to address over and over with our artists, and it's a very tough one because it's not the beginning, it's not the end, it's the middle. And so what happens now is that, like I said, uh, first we go to our super listeners. We give them a reason to stay engaged. That's why the demo versions and the live versions and the playlists that we make, or if we make a Spotify canvas or a CapCut reel, or whatever it is that we do, um, talking about the lyrics. These are things that the people they actually want to hear about. That's why they followed you. They didn't follow you because they hadn't heard about your music and you please follow, please like, please share, please buy. No, they followed to get more than that, and so you now have to serve them and keep them engaged. Um, you want to give people a reason to return, not just to hear it once. You want to give them new content. You don't always have it, um, but your super listeners, they represent, I think, like 80% of all your income and all your spins. They act like amplifiers. Oh, here it is, 20 times more than casual listeners. So you want to protect that relationship. If you look at the back end of a Spotify for artists, if you have published your music and you look at that, you can see who those people are, where they are. You need to train your sites on them. Um, you want to nurture them. You want to train the habitual ones and nudge the contextual listeners, and build a community that continues on and has a life of its own. The great thing about touring is that the show's different every night, and you're in a different city every night, so it gives you this years worth of things to do if you're lucky enough to be able to afford to do that, and if you can build towards that, so that each night you're really kind of engaging these people with more than they got from their record. Now, without that, there's your iPhone and how you adapt that. That's something that we're all still learning as touring becomes harder, but it allows us to sort of disengage from this the static of online. And so the next slide we talk about is what do you want to measure? When you put out a record these days, you get access to all kinds of information. You can go to a site called Music Smash, and it'll tell you if your song has a high enough popularity rating to get added to playlists. And if you're above 30%, then you know, you're on your way up. But if you're below 30%, you're kind of out. And if you go to your Spotify for artists or your Apple for artists, you can get all kinds of interesting information. But really, what is it you're trying to measure? And what are you trying to see? Number one, audience movement, engagement quality, signals from the various platforms. Sometimes we have Spotify representing 90% of an artist's spins. In the chart that I have up online now, this artist is 41% of the spins, which is great news because the other ones pay better, well, except for YouTube. But also, you realize if people are using Apple, then you're probably getting the Asian market, Pandora. Deezer, of course, is European market, and Pandora is still, a very broad-based and widely used service. So when you can see that it's spread out there, you can recognize that that's a positive. Um, Finding your top cities. Are they someplace you can get to? Why are they your top cities? Can you focus on just a city, or do you need to focus on the United States or North America or the world? We focus on cities. We try to break it down and get to the individual, whether there's a record store, which are rare these days, or whether there is a radio station in play. We still believe in terrestrial radio, not just because there are a few left that still mean something, but because the people who do the promotion also have access to digital radio, Sirius XM, which is a huge win for any artist to get on Sirius XM. And that's because they pay you a lot to play your music. Um, Making that a primary target is something we've done before. uh, so finding out how
Yeah.
you're going to use this information.
Did it pay off when you were on Sirius?
Oh yeah, Sirius still pays us a lot of money every month for
Not bad.
it. It's crazy. They have a very strange deal, but getting on it is very lucrative, especially because once you're on, they kind of keep you on for a while. They play the same stuff over and over again. Um, but let's see. I'm reading here, so excuse me. Better processes lead to better outcomes, less stress, build once, reuse forever, and adapt a template to your own context and capacity. So this is what we've built. Now we see it working, and now we have to use our post release data to kind of know how to leverage it. Now, marketing behind this is, the first thing that we think of. Oh, we got a spike, or this song came up out of nowhere. What should we do? Should we advertise it? Should we do this for do that? And once again, that's the same trap as virality. It's the same trap as you can post this to the whole world at once. It's not necessarily real. You have to just think of these things as part of your day, part of your cycle, and let the algorithm do a little bit of work for itself. One thing we've learned is that when we spend too much on meta ads, sometimes we can actually depress organic spins. We can confuse the algorithm where they don't pick up on it. They look at artificial spikes that we can create. We put out a couple of videos last year. One we spent a lot to get views, and we got a lot of views. I think we instantly had about 250,000 views, uh, but not a lot of likes, not a lot of comments. And when we stopped spending money on it, uh, we didn't have any more views. And that was really odd because the band had organic views on the rest of their channels. But somehow we had created a problem, and we found out about it through our distributor because they noticed the spike, and to the machines it looked artificial, and it looked like maybe these were fake streams, and they weren't, but they were overspent, and they weren't consistent with what the algorithm was reading into it. Right next to it, we did the next one. We approached it differently with a lot less money and over the course of a more specific, targeted audience, and the results were a lot less. But the likes were more, the comments were more. So we knew that the engagement was actually working. So understanding the data, not getting excited, not thinking that you can manipulate it, because none of us have enough money to really move these things in a way that maybe Universal Records could do. So you have to wait, and you have to let the algorithm actually work. And we've found that it does. In fact, Spotify is moving away from their editorial playlists because their algorithmic playlists have replaced it. Everybody gets their own playlist, customized to what they might like. And that seems to work better for them. And we've found that we have songs that have earned uh, earned their popularity rather than us forcing them. Songs that we never promoted, B-sides, all kinds of random songs that have earned their own popularity rating, that have earned their own algorithmic ads into the playlists, um, the ones we weren't working on. But what I can say and what I hope is true is that those opportunities happen because these things were in the system. We were constantly putting out new music around them so that the opportunity was there for that to happen. So we do this over and over and over again. We get it right over time. We have a better process. We have better outcomes. We have less stress. This stuff is super stressful. It's highly emotional. This is art. It's people's art. Um, you're quantifying it. You start to question it and criticize it. Um, when you can keep that out of your way, you're free to be a happy and healthy musician, like my friend Deepacalypse here. Um, his record that he's holding up there, Floating on a Sphere, this was a re release of a bunch of his songs that just had not been properly put into the world. And so we made a little greatest hits for him, put it out on vinyl, helped him brand it, and these songs that were on that record, this record's already probably 10 years old, and at the time those songs were even older, but he has been working on and around those plus his other records since then, and now it's something that lives forever, rather than something that came and went and he had lost at. um, Moving into build once, reuse forever. This is our band, the Jack Moves. We are now 4 records deep. So when we play a show, they can make about $100 per super fan because there's 4 records, there's 2 or 3 T-shirts, and all of these are out there being, motivated and kept afloat by the new music that they put out. In fact, we just got a sync request for a record, a song off their 2018 record, even though we were just pitching the new record that came out this last year. And sometimes I wonder, well, is anybody pitching my record that came out from 2018? Well, evidently, yes, because now we're going to be on an Apple TV show this summer with something on the B side that we never worked, that somebody did find because it was out there. And that's really the moral of my story. Um, I could go on forever with this, but
I love that moral.
but this is what we do. It's basic. It's not fancy. I don't have any secrets after 35, 40 years in this business. None of the things that we've done were a magic result. They were all just, as they say, marketing is what we do while we're waiting for lightning to strike. Um, we 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 put stuff out there every day. We make sure people remember us, and we move forward. And we don't worry about the haters or people who aren't interested. We recognize that there's competition. There's other things that get prioritized, and that's fine because eventually the cream will rise to the top. We do our best work. We try to leave the artists free to create. We try to make it simple and reveal that it doesn't take money. It takes dedication and perseverance and and thick skin, I guess. I think that takes me back around to the end. So if anybody wants to ask me like
Well,
real questions or
Well, I love the pragmatics. Yes, the Google Sheet link, we're going to send this deck out to everybody that attended. So if you registered and you gave us your information, we have your information on hand. We will send you a post workshop, I'm sorry, a post expert speaker session worksheet plus this presentation that Andy has given us today. So everyone will get the information needed. And I think one of the key components is that for me, also being in this business, but Andy, you babysat me. So what am I, 5 now and you're 10? Um, but that there is a simplicity to it. The pragmatics are important. It may not feel simple, but there's a process and a way in which you work with your music, which it is important to plan. It is important to set it up. It is important to take a deep breath. It is important to get it out there. It is important to have your admin straight so somebody can actually track it. Like Andy said, he's had every mistake under the sun happen under his watch, and it just still happens because we're human. That's the other piece is to understand that we're human, we make mistakes, and can we stay committed to our art, to our craft, to why you feel one of the reasons why you're on this planet is to express that talent. So everything to me, I find this incredibly sexy. Some people are like, what? I'm like, no, in order to build a car, you have to have a really solid engine. And so what Andy's presented here today are aspects of what is necessary for you to build your internal engine. So dependent upon where you are in your career, do you need vinyl or do you not? Something to consider. Are you even that kind of artist? Yes, Google Sheets are important, or finding another way to organize yourself. It could be Notion, it could be Asana. There are other tools out there dependent upon your style. So all the ways in which Pandion is here. We identify people like Andy to come and sit and have, that he spent his time. We invite people that are very well experienced to share their knowledge so you can continue to gather those little nuggets and morsels for your own expansive learning. So before we go, is there anything that somebody said that they found this to be really great information, admire your commitment to ever loving and artists and fans? I mean, that's why I love you, Andy, because we know that's why we worked where we worked. It was like you got to grind, you got to stay in it, you do it for the love of music, you identify the artists you want to really get behind, and then you work the process. And so you're not saying, "Oh yeah, we're flying here with champagne bottles and limos." It was literally like, "No, we love the music, and this is how we're going to keep working it." Sometimes I got blessed with a big budget, and sometimes I had a small budget, like you were talking about Ben Harper and the Origin. So I think the commitment and the way in which you've been able to stay in the music industry and stay true to yourself is one of the reasons why, to me, we haven't seen each other in a long time, but it was definitely one of the reasons why I gravitated or we gravitated towards each other and are, coming full circle and back in each other's lives. So I wanted to say thank you for all of what you've been doing. And does anybody, though, before we uh, say bye-bye to Mr. Factor, does anybody have any other questions? I mean, there's a lot of great information here. If you want to have more of a one-on-one, and now's your time to ask the question, put your hand up.
We have a question in the chat.
Great, brilliant. Mark has a question. Go for it, Mark.
Oh,
And Savannah. Mark first and then Savannah.
yeah, my question is if you had tips for organic growth on social media.
Could you repeat that? I'm not sure I understood what your question was.
Tips for organic growth on social media.
The first word I'm not, it's cutting out.
Tips for organic growth on social
Oh,
media.
tips for organic growth. Oh, excuse me. Um, so social media, it's I don't like it. But organic growth is about consistency. It's about nothing else. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The people who are looking at you, stopping to be on your reel or whatever that thing is, from what I'm told, they want to see you. They want to see you be authentic. They don't want to see your music video. They want to see you making your music video. They don't want to see your they don't want to hear your recorded music. They want to know how you recorded it and which gear you used and stuff. They're looking for that interpersonal reaction. And if you're able to communicate that on an iPhone to a potential viewer on the other end of it, that's great. If you're not, this cannot be what makes or breaks musicians. It can't be. And so uh, that's why I suggest that you really need to recognize who's actually going to look at that at first. Some people have 10,000 people and they have 50 likes on their posts. Who are those 50 people and what do they want to see next? Are they contextual listeners or are they super listeners? And so when you say growing organically, I think it's about maintaining their interest. I don't care if it's your parents, keeping your parents' interest. Hey, mom, look, I made $10 today, so don't worry about me. I'll be fine. That's your post because that's your audience. I think that if you can ignore these supposed, millions of strangers that are going to suddenly flock to your post and just get to what you're doing and do it consistently, that's going to grow organically because the music attached to that, that's what the music brings them to you. And then once they're there, they've already heard your music. They want to know about you. And not all artists want them to let people know about them. A lot of them are want to be mysterious, and that's cool too. There's got to be a way to do that. I am no social media post artist or creator. We make music here and we make music videos here and we try to retrofit them into social media, which is why I would much rather pay for a billboard outside of a club in Los Angeles than spend any money focusing on strangers on a little tiny screen where I'm just mixed in with everything else. It does not necessarily work for me, but it is a place where people who know you, who want to know you better, can find you. And if you can focus on servicing that and actually having interaction, real interaction, not just performances, but real interaction with those people, I think that's where the organic growth comes from. Running some ads towards your site, there's no harm in that. Just don't overspend or overexpect on that.
Did that answer your question, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we work in, I come from marketing and I've worked with a lot of artists and majority of them don't like social media because they feel it's so fake, but then some understand it's a necessary evil. And so when Andy's saying he retrofits his campaign into social media, doesn't let social media lead it, it really also depends on your personality and who are you. You know, there are plenty of mediocre artists out there that get discovered because they have all of these followers, and I just for me, that isn't true music. But if you have that personality, you want to play that game, good for you. On the organic piece, it is, yeah, who are you? Who are you authentically showing up to be? What is it that you want people to know about? They want to learn where your lyrics came from. What was the thing that happened in your life that had you write that lyric? So that part that Andy's saying about letting people in to see you within it within reason, you know, you're not going to give them your bank account number or whatever, your social security number, but you know, what's your process? How did you come up with that? Being able to feel like they're part of your creativity and your work is part of, you know, that organic piece, and also the consistency, like Andy said, and also what does it look like? You know, take pride in what you're putting out there. Is it just a bunch of muck, or did you actually spend a little time saying something nice, designing it decently? It has your vibe or your aesthetic to it. So if you are going to play in the social media world, care about what you're doing and just show up as you are. Do what you do, make it consistent, and then keep looking at other aspects on where you can have your music be discovered. Like Andy's saying, he put a billboard in front of he knew where his audience was for this certain artist. So he was like, oh, these people are hardcore music listeners at this one club. I'm gonna work with the trickle down effect. You know, he's gonna go word of mouth. He's gonna let it grow over a period of time. So it really is also you understanding who you are as an artist and who you believe, who likes your music and who already likes your music. So just to add 2 cents to that. If you have any other more questions, Mark, please feel free to drop us a message at hello@pandionmusicfoundation.org. If there's something more that anybody else wants, I see, Savannah, I'm going to get to your question, but if there's anything more that people want to ask Andy, write us at hello and we'll get it to him and he'll respond when he can. But I'm going to move to Savannah. What's your question?
Hi. Thank you for doing this. My name is Savannah Graybill, and I'm very interested in like A&R management. So this is more an A&R question. When you're signing someone to a label, do you have like questions that you ask, like what can the label do for you, like as the artist, or are you more like join us and we'll have like this like tour maybe, and like we'll work with you on an album that we're releasing? Yeah.
Okay, well, so for us, I mean, A&R, it's an interesting topic. When I started my career basically in A&R, and I had a big record company behind me that was able to provide services that people could not provide for themselves. In those days, that was record budgets and videos and access to press and radio, all those things. Nowadays, Everloving is, and you know, one of the reasons it's called Everloving is this sort of started with friends, and everybody that we signed sort of was an extension of just our friends. Because over the years, JP, my partner, and I, who you know he managed and produced Ben Harper, and I was Ben Harper's A&R guy, and so we worked together for a decade, and then we started this label together with Jack Johnson. The reason we signed Jack Johnson was I was trying to sign him at Virgin. Uh, I wanted to sign him because uh, he liked Ben Harper's career, and he wanted his career to look something like that, and he wanted his records produced by Ben Harper's producer. And I said, "Oh, I can make that happen." And I tried to make that happen at Virgin, and when it didn't, I did it myself. And we spent very little money, and we did it the way you know the demo studio story began. We did that because Ben played on the record, and then Ben had Jack open some shows for him, and so that was friends helping friends, and me kind of you know making that all you know conjuring it and making it happen and paying for it and organizing it, and then from there the guy who go back to the story, the first band I signed that they broke up. Well, he was still making music in his garage, so I started putting out his stuff. He did a film score in his room on a synthesizer. It was a real low budget film, and he did this thing all by himself. And So I put it out. So that was another friend. And then he said, "Oh, I want to make another record now that I have a little home studio." And so it was just friends of friends. It wasn't, oh, we're a label and here's what we can provide you and here's stuff. We signed a few people that weren't direct friends, but this is how Ever Loving itself has been operating. And that is, we all know each other. We're all trying to do the same thing and get to the same place, even though musically a lot of it sounds diverse. Behind that is a lot of just core friendships and kind of cooperation. But in general, what I would say was that I've always, if I like music, if I like something and it catches my ear, then I consider, is there anything we could do to add value to that? Do they need us? Is there something that we would could show up and move them forward with? And that might be an idea or access to something. Um, but that's just the way I approach all of this, because if we can't be useful, then we're really just a bank. And the thing about labels is they'll spend money and maybe never make it back. A bank's never going to give an artist a loan and say, "Oh, you don't have to pay that back," uh, but a label will, and so it's a big commitment to do that. It's a big gamble when you run an indie label like myself. I have to think about, well, my kid's school or this or that, and can we make this? These are all very real parts of how we do that. So we need to know that we can afford to help, that we can add, that missing piece and help guide them on track. And first and foremost, there needs to be some business there to start with, because music is music, but music business means there's a little bit of demand, and that needs to be dealt with and organized and amplified. So start by having a little more demand that you can handle yourself, and then it's very easy to impress the next person to say, "Oh, we can grow it from there."
Did that help you, Savannah?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Of course. We have one more question, Andy, if you're good with it. Taylor, could you ask your question?
Sure. Thanks, Co. Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for everything. And I love Jack Johnson and Ben Harper. Actually saw Jack open for Ben like in that touring time
Oh,
at Austin City Limits. It was just an incredible show. Um, anyway, one question I had was just I was interested in hearing a little bit more about your ideas about vinyl, just because I've released two albums and some singles and love vinyl and have always wanted to release on vinyl. And anytime that I've looked into it, seems cost prohibitive as an indie artist because it's expensive to produce. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about it, because it's definitely a vision that I have, and as a vinyl collector and wanting, and I think it's just an amazing niche market that's coming back.
well, like I said before, vinyl is very core to our business because of the amount of money you can make off one sale relative to the rest of it. Is it expensive? Yes. I mean, the startup costs for vinyl, depending on who, what, where, and how. For instance, the record that we've got in production right now, I think we're making 500 at seven something a piece. But we could have made 300 at seven something a piece, and so that would have been a $2,500 investment to get that made and shipped. And when we sell that to the distributor, that can turn into 16, $17. But if you're selling that yourself online or at a show and you're selling it for $25, you can make a healthy profit off that $2,500 investment. I think I did a little quick math, and 2,500 will bring you 7,500. So yeah, it's an expensive startup cost, but consider we used to pay $2,500 a month for a press person. We don't do that anymore unless they're already press worthy. And so now we spend it on things like vinyl, and the bands, they need to be able to go out and hawk them after their shows, and maintain a web store, and hopefully, if you use Shopify, by the way, as a website and a web store, then you are automatically connected with Spotify. you're automatically connected with YouTube, and you can sell your vinyl on your YouTube, below your YouTube posts, and below your new Spotify. When you put out a new song, there's the vinyl right there. Thanks to Shopify, and vinyl sells pretty well that way. And then if you use your email lists and you offer sales and free shipping and handling funnels and all that, uh, you can make 5 grand, and then you use that to resource your next investment in your career. So when I started the label, I only had a finite amount of funds to do this with, Johnson, and there was a moment where it got expensive even to succeed because I needed to press more money, records than I had money for. But I knew I'd make a profit down the road. I have those same problems today when I need to make a large Jack Johnson pressing, 5, 10,000 records, and then suddenly I'm out those dollars as well. So I understand the investment's tough, but if you can keep your calendar and know when and how and your expectations, you can make that a profitable investment.
You know what, Taylor, there is an on-demand model for independent artists. Have you looked into that?
Oh no, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be more your tip because of the fact that a lot of the people in our community are very DIY. And so it's a partnership that SoundCloud did with Elastic Stage. So it
Hmm.
enables independent artists to release vinyl without any upfront investment. So I would definitely, you can email us hello@pandionmusicfoundation.org and we can give you that information. Definitely yes to what Andy's saying if you have that ability. But if you're just wanting to test it out because you believe that your community would pay for vinyl, you may not initially get a big profit margin, but at least you're trying to build a stronger relationship to your audience or your fan base.
Yeah.
So there is that it's elastic stage.
Okay,
So
awesome.
And
yeah, but you can also drop us a note. Go ahead.
a little peek into the future, the same band we're making the vinyl for, they're burning their own CDRs and making sleeves and selling those on the road as well. And they say that those do very well. The
Hmm.
CD market is certainly underground at this moment, but it's loyal, and I see it growing a little bit, which would help us all because making CDs a lot easier than making vinyl.
Totally. I think
Yeah.
just bring the 8-track tape back, really. But
Anything, any of it, and all of it, it's so fun. I mean, I can't part with my records. These are my mom's records, my dad's records, my sister's records, my records. I got some in the garage. You can't get rid of them. Once you have them,
Yeah.
they're there forever. And then that album cover, my kids look at them, and they become inspired by them. And if you can afford to just put it all out there and not expect anything from it, the rewards are incredible.
Yeah. Same. I have my parents' record collection and my partner's parents, and we were showing them to our kids, and it's like an amazing generational thing. So it's super powerful.
Better than a stream.
I'm also wondering, you may not know the answer to this, and thanks, Co, for that tip. Unrelated to this is, do you have an opinion about releasing a song that would be and you'd be interested in pitching for sync? Because we have a potential meeting with an independent producer and an A&R guy who works in sync, and we have just released a song on Bandcamp, not yet the full Spotify release. And we got a message saying that this particular producer only wants to be pitched unreleased un songs. And I hadn't heard of that being a thing in sync, and so we kind of paused on the release, but now I've gotten conflicting information. Like some people say absolutely release because if it does get picked up, you want like people to be able to look you up. I didn't know if it was like it seemed shady that he said that or what
I,
to
I'm
do.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that they want something that has not yet been released, not something that won't be released, for it to then be kind of like you're hearing it here first. Now,
Got
if
it.
I had something that we shop our records before they come out, we immediately service them because a lot of film and TV want the newest, and it sometimes they're locking stuff that's not going to actually go out until months later. So they don't want something to be old by then or to have already, kind of had its moment. And A lot of times they're hoping that if there's a label, there's going to be a promotion around the same time to help draw attention to that song at the same time that the episode airs, to kind of, draw people to the
Hmm.
show as much as vice versa. My wife works in television, and they're desperate to cross attention, from every little aspect of a show that they put out. So I imagine that's what that means. But
Okay.
I wouldn't have something unpublished out there. And plus, if you want to get your performance royalties.
Yeah, like it's already, registered with a PRO and everything like that, but we just didn't do the full Spotify streaming release or anything yet.
Right. Well, if it's an underperforming track at the moment, you could always re-release it later and pull it back and relaunch it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor,
Sure.
for your question. And Andy, we're going to look to wrap up today.
Okay.
We really appreciate everybody joining us and being a part of our wonderful Pandion community, and couldn't do it without you. Andy, you're the best.
Oh,
Everybody, if you
thank
have
you.
questions, reach out to hello@pandionmusicfoundation.org. Otherwise, we just wish you a really wonderful rest of your week, and join us next Wednesday for Chase Jackson. He's going to be doing a three-part series. So more to come. We have many more wonderful speakers coming up for the rest of the year. And but right now, we just want to give a hand clap and snap and a snuggle to you, Andy Factor. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you
Thanks
very,
for
very
having
much.
me. I enjoyed it, and good luck to everybody.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye for
Take care.
now.